Yo guys, what is up? Max in our video, and today we're talking about Redfall. Now, if you did not know, Arcane Studios just had their developer direct showcase where they did a 10-minute deep dive into Redfall. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down that deep dive. I've got direct footage from Arcane Studios that I'll be playing during this video, and we're going to be talking about the different classes, the weapon systems, what you're going to be actually doing in this game, some of the open world mechanics, and so much more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am so excited for this game. Let's get right into it. We're going to start by talking about the 4 classes and their abilities. Now, classes in this game are a decision you're locked into. You cannot swap classes on the fly. Starting a new character would be starting a new playthrough. And our first new character or class is Jacob Boyer. Now, Jacob is an ex-military sharpshooter turned private contractor. Strange happenings on Redfall have left Jacob with a mysterious vampiric eye and a spectral raven that's not far from his side. Jacob's first ability is a spectral raven that he can summon that will highlight enemies for him. His second ability is a cloak, which will turn him invisible, and his last ability is Heartstopper, which will give him a auto aim / almost Soldier 76 kind of lock on onto enemies with his guns. Our next hero is Layla Ellison. Layla is a biomedical engineering student who volunteered for a medical trial where something went very wrong, leaving her with intense telekinetic abilities. Her first ability is Lift, which will send you or your teammates up through the air. They looked like they were using this to get around the map easier in the gameplay videos. Her next ability is Umbrella, where you can block incoming damage and reflect it back at your enemies. And her last ability is Vampire Ex-Boyfriend. This is one of the only abilities during the showcase that we didn't actually get a look at, so I'm not totally sure what it does, but it looks like it might control a vampire or have one fight for you. We'll see. Our next hero is Devinder Krausley. Now, Devinder Krausley, or Dev, is a cryptozoologist and aspiring inventor. Armed with the weapons of his own creation, he's on a mission to prove himself. Dev's first ability is the Arc Javelin, which throws a arc kind of grenade that sticks into the ground and chains lightning damage between enemies. His next ability is Translocate, which is a teleporter that you and your teammates can use to get around the map or get behind enemies or get to a vantage spot. And his last ability is Blacklight. This looks like it places a turret down that will stun and burn vampires in its way, almost like a sentry turret, but for vampires. Looks really cool. And lastly, we have Remy De La Rosa, a brilliant combat engineer who has spent her life on the front lines with the help of her robot cohort, Bremon. She's determined to help rescue Redfall survivors. This is more of your team / medic class, and she is armed, her first ability, with a C4 charge. Her next ability is Siren. This will summon her companion to distract and take away aggro from the rest of your team towards this robot. And her last ability is Mobilize. It looks like it may heal your teammates and maybe provide them with a movement speed buff. Next, we get to talk about weapons, and there are a ton of weapons in Redfall. First off, every weapon that drops will have an assigned rarity to it. There is white rarity, green, blue, purple, and legendary. So your standard rarity system for weapons. In addition, every weapon that drops will drop with randomized weapon traits. They said that they want every drop to feel unique, and this very much reminds me of how Borderlands weapon system drops. So when a weapon drops, you're going to have rarity, you're going to have randomized traits on it, and then you've got the different kinds of weapons that can drop. In addition, once you pick up that weapon, you can modify it. You can put on different attachments, different blades, different sights, and once you're done with that weapon or you out-level it, you can dismantle that weapon. Dismantling weapons will allow you to craft new weapons. Yes, you can craft your own weapons in this game. There's also a bunch of different categories of weapons in terms of you have civilian weapons, military weapons, scientific / energy weapons. There's unique vampire hunting weapons like the stake launcher or the UV beam that they actually show off a bit in this trailer. And all of this combined, they say that you should have a ton of choices and a ton of freedom for what weapons you want to use and what weapons you want to bring to battle. Next up, for the actual content of the game, this is an open world narrative driven game. In an interview with the devs, they said that this game is very much like a Far Cry game. They saw a lot of comparisons being made to Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood, and they wanted to expressively say that this is not that kind of game. It is more of an open world narrative driven game, similar to how Far Cry plays. And there are a lot of elements to Far Cry. First off, one of the contents that you'll be doing, besides from the main story and quest, is clearing out areas. There are areas that are going to be owned or captured by cultists and vampires, and by clearing out a certain area, you'll be rewarded with loot. But once you clear out enough camps and areas, you're going to be spawning a underboss elite. Now, these underbosses will have unique abilities and a much more challenging fight for you. Once you clear out the underbosses in an area, you'll get a key. You're going to need 4 keys, and once you get 4 keys, you can go and fight a vampire god. Now, it is unclear if these vampire gods will be repeatable, but we do know that each of these tiers of vampires will be dropping remnants. Now, remnants are items that modify your playstyle. Remnants can give you boosts to your defense, your health, your skills, or your weapons. Remnants also have rarities, the same rarities that we have in weapons. So we've got white, green, blue, purple, and legendary. And you can also get remnants from nests. Now, nests are where it gets even crazier if it wasn't crazy before. Nests are procedurally generated, repeatable dungeons that you can go into and clear out nests and destroy the heart inside for loot. But every single time that you go into one, we don't know exactly how much RNG there is, but they say that they are procedurally generated and repeatable. So while you're doing all of these story missions, content side missions, and dungeons, you're also going to be progressing your character. And they showed off the skill trees in this gameplay breakdown. Now, it looks like the skill trees are going to have for each of the characters kind of like a right side that's more generic, looks like ammo stuff, healing, maybe some crafting supplies. And on the left side, you're going to be able to level up your skills. Now, as we went over in the beginning of the video, each character comes with 3 skills. And via your skill tree, you'll be able to augment these skills and make them more powerful, like the bullet hail skill point, which is going to allow your umbrella to deal a blast of damage based off of the number of bullets that you absorb. Next up, we've got GraveLocks. Now, this part of the game is still a little bit confusing to me, so I'm going to read out what the dev said, and then we'll talk about it. So the dev said, along with collecting different outfits for each character, one can also collect GraveLocks. The devs say that there's a finite number with a strong piece of narrative associated with each. They are from the perspective of a particular character that you'll get to know in the game, a sympathetic character, and they have gameplay modifying abilities as well. Now, from the UI that was shown during this gameplay deep dive, it looks like there might be 81 total GraveLocks to collect, and it sounds like we're going to be doing missions for a certain NPC to unlock these. Now, the fact that they have gameplay modifying abilities and there's 81 of them means that you could maybe do some crazy things with these. Once again, I really don't know much, so I don't want to speculate too much, but it sounds like there are another way to progress and build out your character that you will have in addition to your skill trees, your remnants, and your guns and gear. And lastly, the game comes out on May 2nd, 2023. It'll be available day 1 on Game Pass, as Xbox now owns Arcane and Bethesda. And if you pre-order the game now, you get some bonus cosmetics. But if you buy the Bite Back edition, which I think is around $100 right now, you get the Redfall Hero Pass and additional cosmetics. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because the Redfall Hero Pass includes 2 new future playable characters, which confirms that we are getting more playable classes in this. As someone who is a fan of the Borderlands formula and them already adding new classes, I think that's freaking awesome. Because it just means that the game is going to have a lot more replayability by them adding new classes, more reasons to dive back into the game and replay it. Right now, my biggest question about this game, because I'm really genuinely stoked for it, is what endgame is going to be like once you beat the main campaign, once you beat the vampire gods. Is there going to be a reason to keep playing on your max level character, to keep grinding it out? It does sound like the RNG elements of weapon drops might be a big part of that, as well as the RNG drops or RNG possibilities of the remnants, for example. If we look at the character loadout screen, you can only equip 1 vampire god remnant, 1 blood remnant, and 3 soul remnants. Remember, these are kind of like artifacts that modify your character in some way. Maybe the end game will be like farming for perfect rolls of your remnants, but that is still to be seen. That is going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I am genuinely so excited for this game, from the similarities that it's bringing from like a Borderlands formula-esque to just being an open world kind of vampire horror-ish game. It's got drop-in, drop-out co-op. It's got skill trees. It's got repeatable endgame dungeons. It sounds freaking fantastic, and I cannot wait for this game. I plan to be covering this game in full on the channel, so any Redfall news, Redfall builds, Redfall things, I'm stoked for it. And if you aren't subscribed yet and are looking for some more Redfall content, this channel will be a great place to find some. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.